UFC Vegas 51, Luque versus Muhammad 2. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Pretty exciting card. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. And let's jump into our first fight of the night. Heavyweight division matchup between two guys known for their careers at light heavyweight. William Knight moved up in the last fight, fought Maxime Grisham up here. Didn't look good in that matchup. Devin Clark is a bad stylistic matchup for William Knight. I am picking Devin Clark to win the fight. What I like about Clark here is going to be the persistent wrestling game. Even though his stand-up isn't great boxing-wise, it's not really his best aspect, he does have some pretty interesting kicks. And honestly, he'll throw this like weird crescent-style lead side kick, and it can land. I mean, he's definitely got pretty good dexterity with the legs. Mixes in his takedowns well, definitely pressure-heavy game. On the opposite side, William Knight is a powerhouse striker. His game is going to be getting the knockout with the hands. Does have a little bit of a bad habit of leaning away from punches and like really shifting his body backwards. I feel like that's going to set up takedowns. Clark will press inside. I think William Knight will do his usual, duck away, and then I think there's going to be double legs there. I see Devin Clark landing consistent amounts of takedowns here. I do think William Knight has like a power puncher's chance, without a doubt. He's a powerhouse. The guy's built like a truck and he hits damn hard, but I still think Devin Clark overall has a more developed game, and the wrestling is the difference maker. First round, William Knight will be his most live here. I like Clark to win a decision. Also, common opponents, Alonzo Menfield. You saw what Clark was able to do there. A lot of wrestling in that matchup. Did get touched up a bit early. William Knight, super competitive fight with Alonzo Menfield. Both guys power punchers. I think Devin Clark finds similar successes. He just needs to be very cautious in that opening round, because if Knight lands on your chin, anybody can drop. But I think Devin Clark will be cautious and will win a decision. Now, as far as the lines for this matchup here, minus 175, minus 163 best value, Devin Clark. William Knight plus money, plus 150, plus 153 as a dog, depending where you go. I like the favorite, Devin Clark, in this matchup. Close money favorite. I think he wins this fight. Hard-fought decision. Definitely a fight where somebody could go down and out, but expecting the Clark wrestling game to be the big difference maker here. Next fight of the night, Trey Ogden versus Jordan Leavitt, the Monkey King. Jordan Leavitt's game on the ground is fantastic, but on the feet, he needs a lot of work. He's really developing there. The opposite is said about Ogden in a sense, but actually not even just the opposite. The opposite of the striking, Ogden can mix it up on the feet. He also has a dangerous grappling game. I like Trey Ogden a lot in this spot. From the research I found on this guy, I really think he's an interesting prospect, especially a guy with a lot of experience, 15-4, coming into the UFC now. I like the kickboxing. He works a pretty nice jab and follows it with good lead hooks at times. His leg kicks are good just in general. He has very good kicks. His dexterity is solid. And I really do think his lead leg is his best kick. Like, he'll throw high kicks up super quick. On the feet, I think Jordan Leavitt could be in some serious trouble here. Now, on the ground, Leavitt definitely is dangerous with his jiu-jitsu and his wrestling. If he's on top of somebody, he can set up awkward submissions. Trey Ogden is a very difficult guy to grapple. Trains with James Krause. I see a well put together game plan here. If he keeps the fight standing, I think Jordan Leavitt is in big trouble here. Leavitt also the shorter guy of the two. I don't think Leavitt will find a ton of offensive wrestling success. I think he's going to be forced to stand up and strike a bit with Ogden. Ogden by knockout. I'm picking Ogden to win by KO in the second or third round here, but definitely feeling the Ogden by KO side. As far as the lines on this one, close money, minus 129. Favorite is Trey Ogden. Jordan Leavitt, slight plus money, plus 117 dog. I like Ogden to win via knockout in this spot over the Monkey King. Next fight of the night, Alateng Heili versus Kevin Croom. This is a very tricky matchup at bantamweight. Croom coming down from 145, and he's 5'11", so even at 145, he's a pretty tall guy. And now he decides, hey, I'm going to cut to bantamweight. Note this, his last fight at bantamweight was 2014. It was a win. That's a really long time ago. That's 8 years back. He's now mid-30s almost, and he's deciding, I'm going to cut this weight and drop to 135. That alone is making me pick against him here. I'm going to go with Alateng Heili. If this was up at 45, this is really an interesting matchup. But with that weight cut, I'm expecting Croom to definitely be weaker in wrestling positions. Even though Alateng Heili does not always use that wrestling, he does have a good wrestling base. He likes to stand up, though. A lot of guys that have good wrestling backgrounds tend to fall in love with their hands. Kind of something you see with Alateng Heili. He's a pretty good pressure puncher, hits with good hooks, definitely power. He'll load up with overhands at times. I really wish he would mix in more wrestling. I think in this fight, he should. Reach difference is massive here. Height difference is massive. This is such a weird fight because we're talking Croom cutting, in my opinion, too much weight to get down to 135 pounds versus a short guy in Alateng Heili. Flip-floppy matchup. I understand people on either side of the pick here, but I do think Heili can get this one done on the floor. Kind of feel like he's gonna mix in the wrestling here. Of course, I'm not gonna bank on it. I don't really love a bet on the Alateng Heili side, but I am picking him here. Now, as far as the line on this fight, Heili's minus 177, Croom plus 161. Listen, if it's a dog or pass bet, maybe you throw down on Croom, but I hate the weight cut to 135 from a guy who's 5 feet 11 inches tall and already looks thin up a weight class. And he won his debut quickly, submission. Watch out for his guillotines. That's his best move, is going to be like front chokes. He choked out Roosevelt Roberts. Granted, it was overturned. He did that at 55. He's now going down to 35, which he hasn't done since 2014. I think it's a bad move. I expect him to fatigue a little bit later here. I think the wrestling of Alateng could be a problem, but even the stand-up, I think he can land big overhands and catch the taller guy, Croom. I think Croom's going to look good in the first round. Second and third, Alateng does take over. The tide turns, and I'm going Alateng win via decision, maybe TKO, but I hate the bet on this fight. Definitely see people jumping on the dog side of Croom, but that weight cut's a huge concern. 5'11 to 135, that's a serious amount of body weight to now be shredding. The lower you go, those 10 pounds make a much bigger difference, and that's huge for a guy who stands 5'11. Give me Alateng Heili, win via decision. Next fight of the night. Very good ladies fight. Sam Hughes, Sam Page versus Istela Nunes. I'm going to be going with Istela Nunes in this spot. I really like her stand-up. She's a pretty damn quick kickboxer. She flows well. I like the technical style. She has some pretty damn fast straights that she'll throw at her opponents. And I do think Nunes could land and do some damage against Sam Hughes, but Hughes is not an easy girl to put away. She's game as hell, loves to stand up and strike too, has like that modified high guard Thai-esh style, likes to come forward, fights well in the center. Granted, doesn't have excellent movement. Like, she isn't really cutting crazy angles or anything like that. I see superior footwork on the side of Istela Nunes. Grappling, neither girl known for it. Maybe Sam Hughes is going to look to shoot here. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. I'm not expecting her to have the offensive wrestling and even just top game to beat Istela Nunes on the ground. I think Nunes will still be fairly defensively sound. Might get taken down a couple of times, but that's the biggest hole in her game. Sam Hughes known for being a striker. Striker versus striker matchup. I think that Istela Nunes is so much more precise. Win by a decision. I expect her to land some good strikes in this matchup. Definitely some significant strikes leading the way throughout. I think she's going to pick Sam Hughes apart for the most part. Maybe a few takedowns, a couple combinations, especially coming off the clinch, breaking, but I still like Istela Nunes for the win. And I am going by decision for the Nunes side. Looking at the line here, Istela Nunes a minus 200 favorite, Sam Hughes plus 180. That line is a bit wide, but I do think Istela Nunes should win this bout. Granted, girl with question marks around the wrestling, even though Sam Hughes not great for the wrestling, still a fear, and definitely a bettor's fear if you are throwing money on this fight. But give me Istela Nunes win decision, and I expect her to outstrike Sam Hughes in this fight. Let's keep running up this next one. Lina Länsberg and Pannie Kianzad. Lina Länsberg is 40 years old now. Swedish fighters collide here. Who's the queen of Sweden here for 135? I'm interested in this matchup. I like the Pannie Kianzad side a lot. Lina Länsberg, I believe it was 2.5 years ago. 2 years and 2 months ago, she lost to Sarah McMahon, which is a loss that hasn't aged bad. 2.5 years ago, she beat Macy Chiasson. Almost 3 years ago, beat Tonya Evinger. That's a lot of time out of the game, and she's fighting a girl 10 years younger. I like the youth on the side of Pannie Kianzad. I really like Pannie's boxing. She works a good jab, follows it with beautiful crosses. Granted, some girls will be able to take Pannie to the floor. She's not bad in the grappling positions. She's not bad in the clinch. And I don't think Lina Länsberg is fantastic with the wrestling. Länsberg has landed trips, especially from clinch positions on girls, and does work well from the top, but she's also getting taken down herself. I think the ground games of these two are on a similar level. I think the striking, Lina Länsberg is not as proficient with her hands, but I do think she has a solid game overall. I mean, she's strong in the tie clinch. She has a pretty high pace, and I mean, I do think the kicks are decent, not like my favorite aspect of her. She doesn't have like these crazy man-on Furat style dexterity or anything like that. Lina Länsberg is a decent tie style striker. I think the more well-rounded for MMA striking game goes to Pannie Kianzad. She's got the footwork edge. I think she lands good punches, rips some low kicks as well, stays off of her back. Win for Pannie Kianzad. I really am thinking by a decision, unanimous in this fight. 40 years old, Länsberg 2 years off. I expect speed advantage on the Pannie Kianzad side, and I think she gets herself a nice win. But the line is crazy wide. This fight is not this wide. I don't believe this line for the slightest. This is like a trap line to really, I guess, maybe make you try to bet the dog, or even at minus 300, people think an absolute lock. Granted, I think Pannie wins, but if I was creating the line, it's like she's a minus 150 favorite. Minus 200 if you want to push it because Länsberg's 40. Minus 300, Pannie Kianzad favorite. Plus 263, Länsberg dog. The lines are a bit wild in that one. But I do like the Pannie Kianzad side. I expected those lines to be a fair amount closer. But we'll go Pannie for the win via decision. Let's jump to the next fight. Heavyweights. Chris Beast Boy Barnett and Martin Buday. Barnett's in the UFC. He's gotten his shot. He lost to Rothwell, beat Vellante. The win over Vellante isn't really a huge win. Vellante spent the majority of his career as a bottom-tier UFC light heavyweight, and he decided, hey, I'm going to go up bulk to 265 and be a thick boy, and out thick boyed by Chris Barnett as expected. Martin Buday is a real heavyweight. He's a long kickboxer, a guy with decent top control, solid trips. He works well against the cage. You look at the fight with Lorenzo Hunt. Lorenzo Hunt went ballistic at him, landed some good punches, but then got destroyed against the cage. You can't just run through a guy like Martin Buday. He's a pretty competent kickboxer. He's a long, tall fighter. He fights out of the southpaw stance as well. Sometimes, I feel like, he doesn't fight out of the southpaw stance. Fights out of the orthodox stance. But Barnett from the southpaw stance. I actually think this could be to Barnett's downfall. I see straight punches for Buday being something that lands here. The reach difference is not super substantial. It's 75 inches to 77. Height difference is huge, 5'9" to 6'4". We don't know the official arm length measurement. That's more accurate than doing the wingspan. But I definitely think advantage in the striking for reach is going to be Buday. Barnett's going to be looking to land shots over the top. I think Buday can slow the pace down and get this fight to the floor potentially and find himself on top of Chris Barnett. I honestly think Barnett's game is fun to watch. It's like good for the back end, smaller heavyweights too. But against a big prospect like Buday, I think he loses fairly dominantly here. I expect Buday at some point to find a way on top. He's a guy that fights tall, so when he wants to manage distance, he'll do it well. I think Barnett's going to have a really hard time closing distance. If he does close distance, don't be surprised if you see work against the cage leading to trips and top control from Buday, and I think he'll work ground and pound. I'm thinking TKO in the second or third round for Martin Buday. I feel like he's stopping Chris Barnett in this matchup. We've seen Barnett get taken down, get put on his back and beaten up a little bit against lesser guys, much lesser heavyweights than Martin Buday. Chris Barnett, fun story, fun guy to watch, but he's not going to get the W here. Martin Buday win TKO in this matchup, but I am expecting it probably to be the ground and pound. As far as the line, Buday is a minus 200 favorite. Chris Barnett, the plus 190 dog. I like minus 200 from Martin Buday, who's just a nightmare stylistic matchup. Real heavyweight. Even though, yeah, Barnett is a real heavyweight, he's way too short for these longer strikers. And I think Buday's ground game is also a problem for Chris Barnett. Next one is going to be Rafa García and Jesse Ronson. Exciting to see Jesse Ronson back. Hasn't fought in a year and a half. He quickly beat Nicholas Dalby, which was like a big upset at the time, and not a lot of people expected Ronson to come through and get that W. I was impressed. Look at Ronson's game overall. I mean, he lost a split decision to Kevin Lee years back. He's a guy that's very good with the stand-up. He has over 30 amateur kickboxing fights. He has also boxing amateur matchups. This guy, striking-wise, I think Jesse Ronson is very proficient. He has a clear advantage over Rafa García. I'm going with Jesse Ronson. I got to tell you guys straight out the gate here. I think that he's going to get it done. I actually think he can submit Rafa García. Garcia's a good fighter, and I feel like he does his best work, though, 55. Decides, hey, I'm going to go to 170. Ronson, normally at 55, staying up at 170. I know he's 36 years of age, but I think at 170, rehydrated, just being the naturally bigger guy than Rafa García, who's not really a big guy at 155 either. I mean, he's thick, but he's short at only 5'7". I think Ronson from range is going to pick him apart with strikes. I think García is going to get a little bit reckless trying to close distance. Look back at that Chris Grutzmacher fight, how much Chris was able to pick García off from distance. I think Ronson could do it even better than that. And the thing is, I think Ronson's wrestling game is something that he has in that back pocket. Might mix in some takedowns, might find the back of Rafa García. I know Natan Levy's known as like a really good grappler, and that's the guy that Rafa García just beat, and he wasn't able to lock it up, a submission, when he hit the back. But he's not Jesse Ronson. The size difference, I think, is something here. Physically stronger guy. I think García is really strong, don't get me wrong. But up a weight class at 170, I think Ronson's going to touch him up bad. I think he's going to hurt him here. And I think you're going to see Ronson put him down, club and sub type position. I think you're going to see García outstruck, hurt, try to look to wrestle, put himself in a bad spot, and I think Ronson finds a choke potentially, maybe the rear naked choke if I'm going for like a really mystic Mac call, but don't bank on that one. I'll go Jesse Ronson for the win. I am going to go submission. Definitely see him getting some knockdowns, or at least one knockdown as well. I think Jesse Ronson is going to look good. And the line here is very close. Ronson is a very slight underdog, minus 105, but you can find him up at plus 105. Rafa García, minus 112. I personally like the dog, Jesse Ronson. I know he's 36 years of age, but he's got a ton of experience. Rafa García has shown to not necessarily be a top-level guy and like a prospect that we're like, wow, we really got to keep an eye on him. He's an explosive striker, more so known for solid wrestling, but even with that explosive striking, struggles with guys that manage distance well, and I think Ronson is going to pick him apart here. Ronson for the win, and I like it by submission, club and sub potentially there. Next one is our featured prelim of the night. It is Drakkar Klose versus Brandon Jenkins. Good matchup here between these two. Drakkar Klose has not fought in over 2 years. Actually, exactly 2 years. Beneil Dariush is now a top contender in the world. Drakkar Klose fighting a guy, Brandon Jenkins, who just lost to Zhang Ru by KO in the third round. I think Drakkar Klose does get the win here, but I have to immediately pull up the odds because when I looked at them, they kind of blew my mind a bit. Drakkar Klose is a minus 400 favorite. Brandon Jenkins a plus 363 dog. He's such a wide favorite. Now, he probably does win the fight, but Drakkar Klose is known for being an over-aggressive striker who puts himself there to be hit. That's why Beneil Dariush slept him as bad as he did. Drakkar Klose is a pressure-heavy guy. He likes to mix it up. He's down to brawl. He gets very square and unloads hooks. Now, if they land, yes, they do damage. He hurt Beneil in that fight. But if they don't land, he's there to be countered. Brandon Jenkins is a dangerous striker. His kickboxing is definitely not bad. Does have some flying knee knockouts outside of the UFC. It's something to watch for is going to be Brandon Jenkins' kicks, I feel like, from the outside. Maybe even a straight right down the line as Drakkar Klose gets over-aggressive. I'm not picking the Brandon Jenkins side, but I am noting that this line, I think, is a little bit too wide here. I think Drakkar Klose is going to make it a scrap. I think Brandon Jenkins will be willing to engage him in a brawl. Somebody's going to get hit. Probably somebody goes out. I'm going to pick Drakkar Klose by knockout. I'm leaning it in the third round, but I think Brandon Jenkins could have a chance here. At minus 400, Drakkar Klose is really just an untouchable line. I don't hate people dogging it up a little bit on Brandon Jenkins, but Drakkar Klose should win this fight. The line is just too wide. I'm going to go Drakkar Klose in a brawl, out-brawling Brandon Jenkins, landing some good strikes. Jenkins also note he fights out of the southpaw stance. That could be a problem. Maybe a straight down the line as Drakkar squares up could put him down. I like Drakkar Klose's chances to win this fight, but the line is crazy in my opinion. We'll go Drakkar minus 400 though. It's an ugly line. If you're betting Brandon Jenkins, I don't hate you. I don't think it's a terrible idea. We'll talk more about the pure betting side later on in the week here, but I like Drakkar for the W in a brawl. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn those post notifications on, and share the video as well. It's Pat Sabatini, TJ Laramie. Really good featherweight fight. I am excited to see Pat Sabatini, and I'll be honest, they're throwing TJ Laramie to the metaphorical wolves here. Pat Sabatini is going to choke him out. TJ Laramie is a good wrestler, an aggressive wrestler, a strong kid who's really athletic. He's 24 years of age. Pat Sabatini has a lot more experience at this point. Not a ton more fights, but a fair amount more wins at the highest level. I think that TJ Laramie, especially in that Darek Minner fight, showed he's a developing kid. He's not ready for that turn. He had a really good performance against Daniel Swain that was on the Contender Series. I'm not jumping at the bit for him just yet. He's only 24. He's super young. I think Pat Sabatini's ground game is going to be a nightmare for TJ Laramie. I think early, Laramie can definitely survive. Maybe even try to strike a bit with Sabatini. Make him stand up. Sabatini's not a bad stand-up fighter either, though. He's definitely developing his game striking. I feel like he has strong kickboxing at this point. But on the floor is where he wants it. His wrestling is good. His top control is phenomenal, and he will look for quality submission attempts. TJ Laramie is a really explosive, young, raw talent with good wrestling. He's strong, he's quick, but I think the fight IQ difference will be clear. Also, reach advantage for Pat Sabatini. I think striking that could play a little bit of a factor, especially just with the straight hands. I got Sabatini for the win. I'm liking Sabatini by submission. I think Laramie's going to definitely fight smarter than he did against Darek Minner. He's going to start the fight slower. And I mean, Minner is just a chaotic style to fight, and I see how he caught TJ Laramie in that guillotine, but I feel like still submission Pat Sabatini. I am going towards second round, but wouldn't be shocked with the first. I like Sabatini for the W. As far as the line here, Pat Sabatini is unfound. Let's find him here. Do they not have the line for this fight? Let me see, man. What am I missing here? Yeah, there it is. Pat Sabatini, TJ Laramie. I just missed that. It's minus 350. That's probably why I didn't notice. He's a huge favorite. Minus 341 best value. TJ Laramie plus 304. I like Pat Sabatini to win. I hate the odds, but I do think he gets it done. I don't think there's much of a shot for Laramie. I don't think these odds are really that bad. I think this is going to be a wide differential in experience and skill, and Pat Sabatini for the win via submission to start the main card off. Next one, Andre Fialho and Miguel Baeza. I think this is really a striker's delight. I am super excited to see these two go after it. Battle of the Floridians here. Both guys fighting out of Florida. MMA Masters for Baeza and Sanford for Andre Fialho. I like Fialho as an underdog in this spot, guys. Miguel Baeza is still a developing fighter, and he's somebody that gets hit a fair amount. I feel like the chin is not bad, though, for Miguel Baeza, but Matt Brown did put him down, and I guess I got to take more concern of that. He was recently knocked out by Chaos Williams, which is not a bad guy to lose by KO to. Fialho coming off the loss to Michel Pereira. When I look at the matchup, I like the patient pressure attack from Fialho. I think he's going to have Baeza fighting off the back foot. I think there's going to be moments where we're going to see Fialho land good punches. I think Miguel Baeza will come back with some lightning kicks. I feel like don't be shocked when Baeza looks to get this fight to the floor. I think Fialho will be able to defend those attacks if he is putting on the ground. I do think Fialho can find a way up. I don't feel like Baeza, even though he has a solid jiu-jitsu base, is going to be able to dominate in that realm. It's not like it's a huge hole in Fialho's game, and that's the best aspect of Baeza. Baeza's got some jiu-jitsu in the back pocket. Fialho definitely is going to be there to grapple with him. I think Andre Fialho stand up a little bit better defensively. I see Baeza getting hit with more strikes. I see a competitive striking matchup. I do think it's an entertaining fight. Striker's delight for me, and I think Andre Fialho win by a decision in this one. Maybe hurts Baeza too, but I don't know if he gets that KO. I think Baeza can survive to the final bell. Close matchup. I'm thinking it's going to be 29-28. So if you are betting it, expect to sweat. Fialho is the dog, plus 158 as the underdog. Miguel Baeza, minus 167 as the favorite. Minus 170 for Baeza at Bet Online, and plus 145 for Fialho over there. So the line is not terrible towards the Baeza side if you like him, but I'm on Fialho. I'm on the underdog. I like plus money. I think Fialho win via decision is pretty possible here, and I think it's a close fight, though. 29-28 is going to be my call on this one. Next fight of the night, the ladies going after it here. Women's bantamweight bout. Odd to see this one all the way up on the main card. I think you could flip-flop it with some fights that are earlier on, like the Länsberg, Pannie, Kianzad fight. Maybe they will, but right now this is the official bout order. Mayra Bueno Silva. I'm picking her to win this fight. It's hard for me to pick her opponent, Yanan Wu, because I'm just not impressed. like at all. I mean, I'm not like super impressed with Mayra Buena Silva either, but when I watch Yanan Wu, it's a lot of bouncing, it's a lot of moving, it's kicks from the outside that aren't super effective, it's punches that aren't landing. She's a long girl and she's tall. I mean, I guess she's not that long. She's 5'8", 66-inch reach. Bueno Silva's 5'6" with a 66.5, so she's a tall girl at 5'8", though. Doesn't do a ton for me. I don't know. I just don't think Yanan Wu has the chops for Bueno Silva. I think Bueno's more well-rounded. She ran into hard matchups. She lost to Montana De La Rosa, who's a very tricky grappler. I guess she drawed with her, technically. And then she also fought against Menon Fiorot, and she got picked apart there. Of course, that's going to happen against Fiorot. Fiorot's top of the line. Bueno Silva is not. She's 7-2-1 and still a decent prospect. I think that the Bueno Silva side has a little bit of a technical striking edge. I think she lands with more volume and consistency. If it goes to the ground, I see Bueno Silva having some success. Yanan Wu is just not somebody that's impressed me. Bad loss to Jocelyn Edwards, too, who I don't think is like, that top of the line. I think Mayra Bueno Silva is still a decent enough prospect. And granted, Yanan Wu's young at 25, but she's got a good amount of fights, 16 pro bouts already. I just think Bueno Silva's got the more well-rounded game. I don't really love the betting side of this fight, but I think Bueno Silva win by a unanimous decision. Let's check out the lines here for this one. Bueno Silva is a giant favorite, minus 360. So it seems like the bookies don't like what they see from Yanan Wu either. Minus 360, Bueno Silva the favorite. Plus 319 for Yanan Wu is the dog. I think Bueno Silva by a decision. It's super wide, but she does get the win here in a fight that I hope is entertaining. I hope. Let's get to the featured bout of the night. Elizeu Zaleski and Mounir Lazzez. This is one I really had to buckle down and sit on because it's a very interesting stylistic matchup. I am going to be picking Mounir Lazzez to upset Elizeu Zaleski. People might say that's crazy, and you know what? Maybe it is a little crazy. Zaleski's offensive wrestling is not great. The defensive chops by Mounir Lazzez are not bad. Yes, Warley Alvarez was able to blitz him, hurt him, stop him in that first round. But when you go back to the fight with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, he sat in the fire with a really dangerous striker, landed takedowns of his own. Yeah, was put on his back a couple of times in just striking exchanges. He's more of a stand-up guy, but I think from range, he's going to look good. I think the kickboxing is fantastic. I think Zaleski might be forced to shoot here. I don't think he's going to have a ton of success with takedowns. Zaleski can get fights to the floor when he's competitive with the stand-up. In this fight, I think Lazzez is the much more precise striker at the least, but I think he's fair amount better. I think he's going to land great counters on Zaleski. I think Zaleski's going to use his explosiveness and aggressiveness to try to get a little bit wild and suck Lazzez into a bit of a firefight. I think Lazzez is super technical and precise. I think he's going to land straight punches down the line. I think he's going to attack with kicks. I feel like Lazzez and him are going to engage in a good matchup. My concern is always going to be, will Zaleski somehow find the takedowns? He's not a guy with great offensive wrestling, but he's put guys on the floor, especially good strikers like a Curtis Melender, and controlled them. Granted, that win is not held up to be super valuable at this point, and that's no offense to Curtis. I like the guy a lot. But I'm going to go with Mounir Lazzez to win. You look at recent losses, KO, and a split decision to Salikov. I think we're going to see a very competitive striking match. I'm going to go Mounir Lazzez win by a decision. I guess very competitive, fairly competitive is the right word. I think decision for Lazzez, it's going to be hard to put away a guy like Zaleski. Granted, if he gets over aggressive and crazy, I do think Lazzez could land the snipe, the counter strike. The sniper's the nickname. He might land that snipe here. He might snipe out Elizeu Zaleski. So give me Mounir Lazzez for the win. As far as the lines on this matchup, Zaleski's a pretty decent-sized favorite. He's minus 170. Lazzez plus 163. I like the plus money on Mounir Lazzez. I do think he can win this fight by a decision over Zaleski or potentially even knock him out. I like the Lazzez side. I think the striking's the difference maker, and I'm excited to see it on display, especially now that he's gotten his feet wet with 2 UFC fights, and it can't be much worse than that last bout. So I believe he's going to come back with a bit of a vengeance here. Lazzez for the W. Co-main event of the evening, Caio Borralho versus Omar Gadzhiev. I love this fight. I am super excited to see both these guys in their UFC debuts. I have to pick Omar Gadzhiev. I have to. I just think the wrestling is going to be a problem. With Caio Borralho, he has a really wide stance, karate-esque style. I mean, granted, he'll switch it up to a more typical kickboxing stance at times, but he likes to use that range, gets in and out of range extraordinarily well, lands great strikes, but I think Gadzhiev is going to look to wrestle him. I think Gadzhiev's kickboxing is not terrible, but he is very square. He's going to strike enough to set up the takedowns. Everything he's throwing is going to be ultimately to find himself in top position. And he does a great job at getting fights to the floor. And when he gets them there, does an even better job of keeping his opponents down. Kyle Burrell is a good grappler, but I think he's in some serious trouble against a tough Russian, Omar García. I think the top control is a problem. Kyle Burrell will be fighting out of the southpaw stance, but he will switch it up at times. I think he's going to be looking to control range and move. I think the small cage is a big factor here. I got to go with the more effective offensive wrestler, especially in the smaller cage. I think Omar García puts this fight against the cage, controls Borello from there, will land takedowns. I think you're going to see Borello probably be able to stay upright for at least a few attempts in that first round. But when García gets it to the ground, I don't think it's going to be very easy for Borello to find a way back up to his feet. I think García is going to be a problem from that top position. I will note, though, Borello is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but when you're dealing with these guys who are just hell on earth from the top position, it doesn't matter. This is MMA grappling, and I think García is going to be a problem on top. I'm excited to see how Borello tries to fend off the takedown attempts because there's going to be plenty coming at him. Something I also really like from García is the way he does that Dagestani handcuff. He uses it well. In striking, he does throw overhand punches, which if they land, they hit with some power. I do think he's going to look to try and close that distance on Borello, but I think ultimately Borello's style is just going to force him almost against the cage because he takes, a lot of distance. He uses a lot of distance in his bouts, and that small cage is such a favorable aspect for García. If this fight's on a pay-per-view card in the 30-foot octagon, it's a different matchup. In the small cage, Omar García, fairly confidently here. I think he gets the fight to the floor, controls, and I think win by a decision for the grappler. As far as the lines here, Omar García is a minus 132 dog, and Borello a plus 120 Garcia's a minus 132 favorite, and Borello is a plus 120 underdog. I like Omar García, the close money favorite to get the win, and I do think by a decision. Let's talk main event. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. It is Vicente Luque versus Belal Muhammad. Really love the rematch. This is the second time they face off. Years back, UFC 205, I believe, Belal Muhammad was knocked out by Vicente Luque in that first round. The fight was just getting started. Left hand, boom, flat goes Belal, essentially. The ref jumps in and stops it. And honestly, at that point, I remember this fight. I never thought Belal was going to go far and make it to be a contender. And the way he has shifted and turned his career around, super impressive. That being said, I like Vicente Luque to go 2-0 against Belal Muhammad. The stand-up difference to me is vast. I know Belal has looked better striking, but the guys he's striking with are not near the level of Vicente Luque. And you look at the Wonderboy Thompson fight, Wonderboy's wrestling defense, especially at an accelerated age now, it's gotten worse almost. It's gotten worse and worse. I kind of feel like Belal Muhammad, though, is in it. I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler. I don't want to say he's overrated in a sense. He's had a great match, great few matches against guys that I really think he does well against. To now fight Vicente Luque, a guy who has a win over him already, I definitely think that's in his mind. Belal Muhammad's best bet is grind this fight out for 5 rounds. I can't see Belal finishing from the top position. I think Vicente Luque has dangerous jiu-jitsu from the bottom. He could lock something up. Belal probably lands a couple takedowns here. He's going to be shooting for a lot. I'm expecting him to maybe go 2 for 6 throughout. Might even go 3 for 9. I don't think he's going to land a ton of takedowns on Luque, and if he gets him down, what's he going to do? Hold from the top and just stay there? Because eventually the fight will be reset and they'll stand up for the next round. Luque's striking is a difference maker. I think he will attack the body a bit with punches. I think his boxing is going to be on display. Especially watch for the low kicks as Belal Muhammad's circling in either direction, whatever direction the lead foot is in. I think that you're going to see some chops for Vicente Luque. I think the stand-up game is a pretty big difference maker. Belal's getting better and better with striking, but let's also note, knockout win. This guy slept you. Even if it was years ago, you got slept by Vicente Luque. He's coming in with that worry a little bit in the back of his mind, like, shit, I don't want that to happen again. And I don't think it's going to happen again like that. I think we're going to see this fight go longer. I think that Belal is going to be competitive, definitely for at least the first 2. He's got a great gas tank. He's going to be trying to push the pace on Vicente Luque. I think Luque is going to be moving and landing good strikes. I'm concerned a little bit, I'll note this, with the smaller cage. I guess the biggest question mark is going to be around how will Belal deal with Luque if Luque's finding some success in the grappling positions, defending the takedowns. I'm going to bank on Vicente Luque. I got him winning this fight fight by 4th round knockout. Overall, I think it's a very entertaining fight. Belal Muhammad's wrestling, let's find out. Let's see if he makes us remember the name here. I mean, you know what? The run either way, though, turning his career around and honestly becoming like a real top guy in the division, no matter what happens, is a very big moment for Belal. Belal's a good fighter. And I think Vicente Luque, though, just too much for him with the stand-up. I think the jiu-jitsu's a problem. Training with Gilbert Burns, excellent grappler. The whole Sanford MMA team, you know, they got him ready for that wrestling. And I think Belal Muhammad is going to look to shoot from the start here. And Vicente Luque just needs to be able to fend off at least a few, or if he gets taken down, find a way back up as quick as possible. Belal from the top position is not going to have great offense, but he's going to be controlling and racking up control time. Belal either wins this fight by a decision, or I think Luque finds success with the hands and the kicks and gets himself a stoppage. I will bank on Vicente Luque for the win by knockout. As far as the line, close. -160 to +140. Vicente Luque, the favorite. I feel like this is even closer than that. Like, I could see it at -125. I could see it at pick'ems. It's just because Luque won that first fight by vicious knockout, that's going to carry weight here in this rematch here. We'll go for Luque to go 2-0 against Belal. Very interesting matchup. Overall, UFC Vegas 51 is bringing the heat. It's a pretty damn good card. Make sure you keep it locked in on the channel all week long because I got content dropping pretty much every day. Smash that like button here if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you're new and turn on those post notifications as well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace, guys.